Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about Dungeons & Dragons and Hasbro's purchase of Power Rangers for $522 million, and how the purchase of Hasbro of Power Rangers for $500 million, in my opinion, will probably impact Dungeons & Dragons. All right, let's talk about it. All right, so basically, this happened in May of 2018. Hasbro purchased the Power Rangers movie for they purchased the Power Rangers, end of sentence, right? All of it, like everything. They own Power Rangers. They had already purchased in February the rights to distribute the toys, right? But now they own Power Rangers as a brand. They purchased it from Saban, okay, and who was the creators of Power Rangers. And at this point, they own Power Rangers outright, okay? Now, that is a absolutely massive, specific purchase, right? And it's $500 million. I mean, that's kind of money that governments talk about. Like, this is a huge amount of money. Now, the Power Rangers movie, which had happened in, I believe, 2016 or 2017, that made $142 million. So this makes a lot of sense. Power Rangers absolutely has a significant fan base. They have a strong selection of shows that are existing, that are out there. And so, you know, that's a very distinct amount of material that they can actually look at, right? That there's a lot of content. When they get that, they're getting multiple shows, they're getting a rich history, they're getting comic books, there's just a ton of content behind. They're getting a movie, you know, all of that. Now, I think what does this mean for Dungeons & Dragons? Well, $500 million means a lot for any company, and it certainly means a lot for Hasbro, right? So here's what I think that they're going to do, right? There'd already been talks about this, and I think the Power Rangers purchase intensifies the momentum toward this thing happening. And what is that thing? Well, that thing is the Hasbro's Cinematic Universe, the HCU, right? So what does Hasbro have that they can bring a cinematic universe to? Well, they own Transformers, they own Mask, they own Micronauts, they own Visionaries, which is a really unusual property. They own Action Man, they own Rom the Space Knight, they own and you know that is a lot of material. And they also, of course, own Dungeons and Dragons. Right, so that is a ton of different materials that they can all and they also own G.I. Joe as well, right? So that is a whole lot of material that could go into one cinematic universe, and then you could have crossovers happening between these different series, right? By the way, the Visionaries is the Knights of the Magic Light. It came out in the mid '80s. It's a very unusual property, and it's important because, all right, so let's talk about the difficulty of building a Hasbro cinematic universe, right? There's a lot of things that wouldn't work, right? One, it's overlap. There's a lot of those materials, like, what's the difference between ROM and Power Rangers and Transformers? That's a lot of robots in that three, right? There's a lot of overlap in this, right? So, like, you know, so you have to deal with that overlap, right? Also, Hasbro, at minimum, has the rights to the toys. I think they may actually have the rights to all of the entire show, to all the IP property as well, for My Little Pony. So there's an MLP lacuna within there, right? So, and, you know, are you going to add My Little Pony in there as well? It's a really weird standout, right? But it's one of their biggest brands, right? So you'd have to deal with that. The other issue is the leave behind, right? So here's a perfect example of the leave behind. Action Man. Who cares about Action Man, right? Oh, there's another one in there. Micronauts, right? they have a ton of properties. I mean, a ton of really popular 80s properties that are just really, really that are popular. I don't want to say really, really popular. Like, so you have the Overlap, you have the MLP Lacuna, you have the Leave Behind, right? So like, you're like, what are we going to do with this, right? So these are all good reasons to say that the Hasbro cinematic universe shouldn't exist and doesn't matter because it wouldn't work, right? But you're all wrong, and anybody who would say that is wrong. And the reason why is billions of dollars, right? There's some really good reasons to make sure that to make this work, right? And that would be just utterly billions and billions and billions of, really, it could be tens of billions of dollars. Like, people buy entire, like, armies for less than this. Like, this is just a ton of money, right? And so all these obstacles that you would have to get over, in order to build the Hasbro cinematic universe, there's so many problems and so many challenges, but billions of dollars is an incredibly strong incentive, right? And I mean, Hasbro's an international company, they like money, right? And, as a global company, you would definitely go, if you want to make billions, you're gonna go forward, right? So that's my point is, now get this, all right? Visionaries is very important, right? Visionaries is the Knights of the Magic Light, right? And that's one of those properties in there. And that one is specifically has the possibility of being able to tie all the other things together. Like that's a way that you could get the Transformers from the Transformers universe into Rom the Space Knight universe, right? Or into the Masked universe, or bring over Micronauts, all the way over into the Transformers universe. These are lots of different, they have a magic base, and they could do that. They, portaling something between two dimensions is magical. It's not scientific, right? So, but here's the issue, right? Nobody gave two rats about Visionaries, Knights of the Magic Light. Like, this is not a popular series. So what could you do with, so if Visionaries, Knights of the Magic Light really didn't resonate with anybody, and you need some kind of magical way to make sure that these creatures and locations can go back and forth between each other's universes, wait, there's a lot of magic in Dungeons and Dragons, which Hasbro owns. So here I am positing now, I think that the delay of the Power Rangers, sequel, and the delay of the Dungeons and Dragons movie are both being caused by executives at Hasbro right now poring over the idea of how do we make a Hasbro cinematic universe occur, right? And I really think that Dungeons & Dragons could be a really critical key to making that happen, right? Because you could a whole lot of plot problems and a whole lot of story problems that would exist within the Hasbro cinematic universe could incredibly easily be handled by Elminster. There you go, right? I mean, like, who doesn't want to see Dritz fight Bumblebee? I certainly do, right? Like, so basically, I definitely understand that there are a huge amount of obstacles to the Hasbro cinematic universe actually getting off the ground. These properties, overlap. There's the MLP Lacuna. There's the Leave Behinds. The properties that really should just be abandoned. I really think that Action Man and Visionary Knights of the Magic Light should be left behind, right? But I wouldn't leave behind Mask. I wouldn't leave behind Transformers. I would certainly not leave behind Rom the Space Knight. I would absolutely not leave behind the Micronauts. And I actually think there's ways that you could make MLP work with any, you certainly can't leave behind G.I. Joe. MLP is very strong, and Dungeons and Dragons can be used to tie all these together, right? And if you think I'm wrong, remember There are billions of reasons that Hasbro has incented to make this work. Billions. In addition to that, and I really feel like people are starting to come around to seeing what I'm saying. A lot of people are like, oh, Dungeons & Dragons is just a game. No, it's an element of Americana, and it is involved in billion-dollar companies and billion-dollar deals, right? And increasingly, entertainment is connected to bigger and bigger elements in the world, right? So I really feel I think Dungeons & Dragons could play an incredibly important role in making the Hasbro Cinematic Universe work, and I absolutely think that both the delay of the Dungeons & Dragons movie and the delay of the Power Rangers film are absolutely connected to the Hasbro Cinematic Universe and getting all those things tied together, right? And so, and they don't even have to announce it. Bumblebee may actually be the first movie of the HCU, of the Hasbro Cinematic Universe. And then they would just, and all they need to do is just leave one Easter egg that can be picked up by the next film, right? But that takes a ton of time and planning, right? Because all these movies would be challenging to do if they were disconnected. But there are billions of reasons to connect them. So I just want to let you know, I think that the reason why Power Rangers is delayed and the reason why Dungeons & Dragons is delayed is because they're going to try to tie Micronauts, Transformers, My Little Pony, Rom the Space Knight, G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, and Dungeons & Dragons all into one project, right? And if you think I'm wrong, I'm going to point you to something. Check out the SDCC 2017 Revolution comic preview. It was a special product. It cost $100 at the San Diego Comic-Con, and it had a comic book that tied together Transformers, Micronauts, Action Man, Rom the Space Knight, Visionaries, Knights of Magic and Light, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. All of those. The only thing I was missing was Power Rangers, MLP, and Dungeons & Dragons. And so, and now, that product, if you want to buy it, with shipping, is going to cost you about $300, right? Close to $300, which means that in a year, it's tripled in value. So that's the issue. Is there's a lot of money behind this, and I think that's the reason why Power Rangers was delayed and why the Dungeons & Dragons movie delayed. Please consider liking and subscribing. Take care.